By building more military bases around Beijing, Washington could create a threat, not containing it. With the agreement with the Philippines, the U.S. has closed a crucial hole in its military encirclement of China by gaining access to 4 more military bases. The outposts are a key piece of real estate that would offer a front seat to monitor the Chinese in the South China Sea and around Taiwan, the BBC said in a statement on them. This completes the U.S. presence in Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea, which was part of an arc around China. It is interesting to put it that way, given how the U.S. and Western media consistently portray Beijing as a threat in this region. Through several global and bilateral partnerships, the United States is determined to significantly increase its presence in Asia-Pacific to encircle and restrict China militarily. As part of this, Taiwan has roped in the Philippines, which holds a crucial geostrategic position on the South China Sea immediately to its south. Despite what its officials may try to claim, the island country, once a U.S. colony, cannot avoid becoming involved in a U.S.-China conflict due to its situation. In many respects, history is repetitive. The Philippines and other nearby territories served as America's forcible entry point into the Pacific region. The Philippines was one of the regions that the United States annexed during the late 19th century Spanish-American War from Spain's early modern empire. America viewed these islands as a crucial entry point to the most lucrative and significant shipping lanes on the entire planet. The Philippines served as a U.S. Cold War military platform and a bulwark of anti-communism in Asia before finally becoming an independent nation in 1946. The world has altered in various ways. For example, despite continuing its defense agreement with Manila, the U.S. no longer maintains the considerable force it previously did there. Similar to how the Philippines no longer sees China as a zero-sum Cold War rival but rather as a crucial trade and economic partner. However, the United States enjoys using geopolitical war to entrap nations and compel them to pick sides. Beginning with the Obama administration's pivot to Asia, the U.S. has sought to encircle China militarily. In response, Beijing has militarized the South China Sea, reigniting long-standing issues that have unsurprisingly put Beijing at war with its neighbors, particularly the Philippines. While Manila has taken care in recent years to avoid upsetting China, the nation's leadership has been walking a tightrope between trying to forge deeper ties with Beijing and militarily securing themselves in territorial conflicts. Regarding foreign policy, Rodrigo Duterte, the last president of the Philippines, was far more in favor of multipolarity in China. This is due to the realization that, although a longtime ally, the U.S. cannot resolve all of the issues facing the nation, least of all its ongoing poverty and organized crime. Nevertheless, notwithstanding Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s visit to Beijing at the beginning of the year, there has been a slight tilt back towards the U.S., at least in military terms. China is the target of a military campaign by the United States that attempts to checkmate it within what is known as the First Island Chain of Asia. This extends from the Russian Far East via Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, and the South China Sea Islands. In other words, the ability to control this region will determine who succeeds or fails in a U.S. war against China, which explains why the U.S. has turned so hostile towards Taiwan and the South China Sea. Therefore, improved base access in the Philippines will enable it to project more air, intelligence, and naval power in the case of an emergency. However, we still need to find out if the Philippines would fight in this scenario. In any case, the U.S. has inevitably stepped up its attempts to militarily and technologically constrain China in recent months. This entails an ever-expanding network of partnerships, much like it has with Russia, and it is this activity that will ultimately increase the risk of war. According to the BBC, the Philippines needs to be more in on this. It is striving to strike a balance, or, if you prefer, get the best of both worlds, but the U.S. is doing all in its power to ensure that won't be possible. While Washington is all about persuading others to choose sides by creating circumstances where it becomes necessary, China frequently approaches its relationships with other nations with pragmatism. Can Manila continue to balance on a thin line? A challenging few years lie ahead.